On today's video, we're going to show you how to properly wire up your DEPO halo rings and get them to turn on and off with your interior lights. Hey everybody, welcome back to Tenza Motorsports. Today we're going to be wiring up our DEPO headlights. Now this is quite complicated. It looks pretty nasty as a wire harness, but it is actually very simple. I've been talking a lot about these DEPO headlights. I really like having them. If my race car didn't already have the xenon bulbs with it originally, I probably would have replaced them with these. You've seen them on the channel before on different cars. My race car is actually running the DEPO corner markers. These are probably the best OEM replacement headlights. If you have broken BMW ones, instead of just buying a set of $200 eBay ones where the rings aren't going to be very bright, the headlights aren't going to be very nice, when things start to break, like the lenses, the housing, things like that, you can't actually go and get them replaced because they're all one unit. Where these ones here actually take OEM replacement parts. So if the lens were to go bad, or this weather stripping that runs along the top that you can't see, it's underneath the hood, but if those go bad, you can actually buy new parts and replace them. Now, I'm not sponsored by DEPO. Unless DEPO wants to sponsor me, you can hit me up in my DMs on my Instagram, which is Tenza_Motorsports, for all of you that want to follow. We also do giveaways on my Instagram. All you have to do is follow us at Tenza_Motorsports to be entered into any future giveaways. Back to the headlights here. They are, like I said, the best aftermarket headlights. Now, there's a lot of companies that do really good corner markers and side markers and fog lights, but DEPO are the best headlights. So one of the reasons why I like the DEPO ones is the halo rings that come with them. They are very, very bright. You don't have to do any extra modifications or anything to the headlights. You just wire up your harness and that's it. So one of the reasons why I'm going over this harness is because there's not a lot of videos on this, and these are very popular headlights. To add halo rings to an E46 is a very common thing to do. So if you've got your xenon headlights, you can just replace the lens and put some halo rings in them. If you have the non-xenon headlights, you're probably looking at a set of these already. So the rings on this are an LED, I think they're like an SMD LED or something like that. They're super bright. You can see them during the day, and you can actually get these wired up so that as soon as you turn your key to the accessory position or the on position, they'll turn on. So as soon as you start to drive, basically. You can wire them to things like your fog lights and stuff like that, but I like to have it basically as soon as my key is in the accessory position, the halo rings are on. So that's probably what we'll be doing with this as well. And then there is another wire in here that you can actually hook to your interior lights, which is really cool because every time your interior lights are on, your halo rings are on. So if the car's off, there's no key in the ignition. If you unlock your car, your halo rings turn on. And on top of that, because the interior lights kind of go from off to on in a swelling, like they kind of slowly get brighter, these will do the same thing. So we're gonna show how to wire that up. There's not a lot of videos on this, if any at all. And when I was first putting these on, I would basically disregard this wire harness because I just could not seem to figure it out. And there's no instructions on the box at all on how to do this. So it's really simple. After I finally sat down, I was like, okay, what on earth is this wire harness for? Why is there a relay in there? What's going on? So now we're gonna show you how to wire these up so that when you do yours, it's not nearly as complicated as just trying to wing it and learn what the wire harness is by yourself. The corner markers are kind of complicated on this car, and we'll be doing that in another video as well. So there's plenty of videos on how to replace your headlights. It's fairly simple. All you do is you open your hood, and there's gonna be 2 bolts on the top. So there's one right here, and there's one right here, and then there's 2 down back behind here, one straight down through there, and then the other one is going to be just over here. So here's the wire harness. Again, this looks super complicated, but it really isn't. And this relay right here is going to be for the interior lights, as far as I remember. I put this together about 5 or 6 months ago just to make sure everything was working, and I don't exactly remember where everything went, but again, it is really straightforward. So these are the ones that plug into the back of the headlights. It's actually spaced. All this is spaced properly for you to run from the passenger side over to the driver's side, and then from the driver's side, you will mount the relay. The relay will be on this side of the engine bay, and then you run 2 wires into the cab of the car. We're gonna go through the firewall. I'll show where we do that, and then I'm gonna run 1 to the footwell lighting so that when you run your key, that's where we'll be tapping into the power there. And then the other one is actually for the ignition switch. This big one here will be constant power, and then these other signal wires will be the one that are activating the rings, depending on where you put these. Interior, main. Do I already have these ran? Wow. I don't remember doing this, but here's my wiring. I've already got it ran. So actually, let's try this out. So this says main and this says interior. So I'm assuming that's interior as in the interior, like the footwell lighting. So let me grab some wire strippers and then we'll get this so we can show everybody what's going on. But I still want to show where we're running through the firewall, because that's always a question I get every time I'm running wires into the car at any given time. So I did a video on the demon eyes that we do on these cars a lot of times, and everybody's wondering where I run it through the firewall, so I'll show that. All right, so I did actually run these, but I didn't have them ran completely because I knew I'd be doing this video at some point. So if you pull down your fuse panel right here, this is underneath the jockey box. What you're gonna wanna do is you get a voltmeter. Like I said, you can either do accessory or on position. So that would be, accessory would be your first click. So when you turn on your radio, some things on the car start to turn on, your halo rings will turn on, or you can click it one more time, and that's when you have it turn on. Whatever you decide to do, what you'd wanna do is get your voltmeter and you start checking these empty fuses. And if you want it on the accessory, you click it and then see which one's changing, which one's turning on. And then again, if you want it on the on, same thing. So I found this one here. So all I did was put a flat connector on there and then slid it into where one of the fuses is non-existent. This one here is for the interior lights. There is a light that turns on the footwell. This one's hooked up to the same ones that are on your roof and in the other footwell. So we will be splicing into that to get the signal from there. All we're doing is making sure that we get that proper signal. I believe it's this plug right here. So you've got brown and black and red and blue. I will be wrapping that around there, putting some solder on it, and then putting some insulator on it so that we don't have any problems in the future with it. That's really how you hook this up from what I do. I'm sure there's other ways to get your power supply, but this is really the simplest way. And you can see they basically came right into the firewall, and then both hookups are right here. You're not running it across the car, you're not running to the other side of the footwell. It's literally 1.5 feet into the car. So I'm gonna get this put together enough to show everybody what's going on, and then I will show how we're getting them through the firewall. So these are grommets I went through. Basically what you do is you slice a small hole and then you can feed them through. And if you have the jockey box dropped, which is really easy to do, then you'll just see the wires poking out through the firewall. And this is best to do with 2 people. You can do it with 1, it just takes a little bit longer and it can be a lot more frustrating. There's gonna be 4 leads. You got your ground, there's a ground. The bigger one is going to a constant power, and then your 2 small ones for your key switch, so when you're driving, and the other one is for your interior lights. So we have our interior lights on, so if we hit the unlock button here, we'll be able to see the halos. And then if I run the key into the ignition. All right, everybody, thanks so much for watching. If you have any comments or questions, leave them down in the comment section below. Again, this is really straightforward. The only thing left I've got to do right now is basically just run some zip ties and just kind of hide all this. I ran extra wires coming out of the firewall just to make sure that I didn't run them too short. I've got to clean that up a little bit. We'll find a better place to put the ground. I don't think I'm going to leave it on the strut tower bolt. I think I'm probably going to run it up here. But that's really it. It's super simple. And I do find it a little bit funny that it took me this long to figure out what was going on. I saw it and I couldn't seem to figure out why it had all these different connectors and why it had the relay switch. And so I've never actually had the halo rings run with the interior lights. So when I'd hit the interior lights, I just never had them run. They were only on when the key was onto the accessory position. Now that I know this is how it's supposed to be, this is how I'll run them from now on. The links to everything will be down in the description below if you are interested in buying these headlights. Again, any comments or questions, leave them down in the comment section below. I will do my best to reply and answer any questions. Oftentimes people will ask a really complicated question. If there is something that I missed that's a major component of this, which I think we went through it fairly thorough. If there is something, make sure you bring that to my attention, because if I need to, I will make another video and go over it in a little bit more detail than what we did tonight. We are doing a corner marker install because these are a little bit more complicated than what I was hoping for. Most of the time these are just a plug and play, and they are, but you'll see there's some pieces back in there that don't quite fit like I was hoping, so I had to modify the back of them. It doesn't take much to fix them. So I'm gonna get this all cleaned up, and I hope everybody enjoyed today's video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe if you are new. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Tenza_Motorsports, and until next time, we will see everybody in the next video.